Hi, I'm Erin Otan, Director of Research Programs at Z Prime, and I'm here with Brian Dillard, the Chief Innovation Officer at the City of San Antonio. And we're here today at the Texas Smart City Summit in Austin, Texas. Thanks for joining us today, Brian.
Thank you for having me.
So you were just on a panel talking about smart cities and what the City of San Antonio is doing. Can you tell me a little bit about exactly what your job as Chief Innovation Officer of San Antonio entails?
Not get in trouble. Kidding. So really my job as Chief Innovation Officer is to ensure that one, my team is equipped to do their job, but secondly, to make sure that the City of San Antonio is future-proofing for whatever may come next, whether that's technology or the usage of data and how we can apply that to our citizens' lives. We try to make sure that whatever's next in that line of technology and data, that we're scoping that out and ensuring we're building for that.
And we heard a few times today that the definition of a smart city is really different depending on what city you're in, who you're talking to. So for the City of San Antonio, what does smart city mean for you?
Smart cities is all about our community at the end of the day. It's about building a high quality of life for our constituency. And we do that through the use of technology and data in everything that we build. Right now we're in a co-creation model. So a lot of smart city technology is either vendor driven or government driven. In the City of San Antonio, we're taking a new approach and we're trying to make sure that community and government are working hand in hand to develop those technologies, or the challenges that will reflect from the technologies, and then push that to our vendors to make sure the solutions coming in are custom to community members that live in our city.
And even though San Antonio is just 90 minutes down the road from Austin, the two cultures are very different. Dallas has a different culture. Houston has a different culture. How does San Antonio's unique culture play into developing the city as a smart city?
One is inclusivity. So we want to make sure that what we're developing is inclusive to our neighborhoods, our underserved, but also accessible to all. So we have a large Spanish-speaking community in San Antonio. So when we do community engagement, we try to identify the needs from our community members. We need to make sure that we're being inclusive of those Spanish-speaking communities. We've had a couple meetings, which is interesting. You have a couple meetings where you provide bilingual interpretation, but no one shows up that's Spanish speaking. We have to reflect on why aren't they showing up? We have to determine, are we doing something differently? Did we advertise it in Spanish? These are components that aren't often reflected when you're building a smart city, but they're very important to make sure each one of your taxpayers has an impact on their life.
And you talked on your panel today about how the first few months of your job was really just going out and speaking to people in the community, really engaging. So what were some of the biggest challenges you heard from those people that you talked to, or some of the biggest lessons learned in those months that you spent talking to people?
Traffic congestion is always a big one. It's always a big item no matter what city you go into, and San Antonio is no different. Specifically, we're going to be doubled in population by the time 2040 rolls around. So we're trying to plan out for that. As I mentioned a minute ago, we're trying to future-proof. That includes our infrastructure, that includes the options of multimodal transit. And that's one of the biggest complaints we got from the community. That parking congestion, of course, but within Brooks, we had reflections on flooding and lighting. These are items that you don't usually identify when it comes to smart cities. You always think of the drones or the autonomous vehicles. But when we get down to the community members' needs, those reflections change. They really get down to the day-to-day challenges that these folks face.
And speaking of day-to-day challenges, I've heard you talk a bit before about a senior center in the city of San Antonio, and how the people's lives are really affected by being able to access and use that city center. Can you talk a little bit about the project of the senior center that's outfitted with smart city technologies?
Right. So currently we do have a couple of senior centers that are bringing in new technology for access to government and overall access to services for our seniors. One of the projects that we're developing right now is Bob Ross Senior Center. It's our oldest senior center within the City of San Antonio. The services there are great from the people perspective, but as far as the technology, we could really implement a lot more. We're trying to take an innovative approach to the senior center by creating aged living around the senior center and then embedding the senior center within. We're also talking about telehealth being one of the options in there. Although the senior center is in the middle of the medical center, we don't want aged living individuals to have to travel far to get into traffic in order to get the services they need. So we'll be offering that. It's really a way to join everything together to make sure that their aged living is as comfortable as possible.
Well, it's really great to hear about what the city's doing and really their emphasis on the community and the people living in the city. So thank you so much for being here today, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thanks for having me.